The laughter was dying out, the last clinks of glass echoing as guests began to drift away. The living room, once buzzing with noise and warmth, now carried that strange, heavy silence that always follows too much joy. I was by the sink, rinsing out wine glasses, half distracted, half drained, when a voice floated in from the patio. Melissa's voice. My wife. It wasn't her words that stopped me. It was her tone. Low. Teasing. That easy, careless way people talk only when they think no one can hear them. I turned off the faucet. Come on, she laughed softly. You know I could never say no to you. My pulse faltered. For a second I wanted to believe she was talking to one of her friends. But then I heard him. A man's voice. Steady. Familiar. Jason. My best friend since college. The one who'd crashed on my couch more times than I could count. The one who'd been there for every bad breakup, every move, every toast. I edged closer, quiet, through the glass. Their reflections rippled faintly in the window. She leaned toward him, smiling, the same smile that used to be mine. I didn't think he'd even notice, she whispered. Jason chuckled. Guess you were right. Something inside me shifted. Not anger, not shock, just that slow, sinking feeling that everything you trusted has already started to collapse. I stood there for a full minute, there, muffled laughter filling the space where my heartbeat should have been. Then I turned off the kitchen light, walked down the hall, and sat on the edge of our bed. Her perfume lingered, jasmine, and something softer like memory. My phone buzzed. A photo from earlier. Melissa on my arm, both of us smiling. For the camera, we looked perfect. Everyone said we were solid, unshakable, and maybe that was the lie I wanted to believe most. When she came back inside, most of the guests were gone. She glanced at me, expression unreadable, then smiled like nothing had happened. You okay? She asked, setting down her glass. I looked up at her, the woman I'd loved for 8 years, and said, yeah, just tired. She nodded, kissed my cheek, and went to take off her heels. I watched her move, the rhythm so familiar it almost hurt, and yet it felt distant now, like I was watching a stranger playing her part. When she disappeared into the bathroom, I stepped outside. The night air was cool, sharp. Empty bottles gleamed under the porch light like silent witnesses. Jason's car was gone. I leaned on the railing, trying to breathe past the weight in my chest. Half of me wanted to storm in and end the lie. The other half, the colder, steadier half, told me to wait, to think. That night, I barely slept. Every shift beside me carried the scent of wine and betrayal. Their laughter looped endlessly in my head, sharper each time. By morning, she was in the kitchen, humming, frying eggs, pouring coffee, as if the world hadn't cracked open while we slept. Morning, she said lightly. Rough night. I nodded, forced to smile. Something like that. She kissed my cheek again, effortless. We should do that more often, she added. It was fun. Fun. I sat there, watching her move through the morning light, and realized I wasn't angry, just empty. Because anger would have meant I still believed she cared enough to hurt me. But somewhere deep down I knew better. Whatever we once had, she'd buried it. Long before last night, I'd just finally heard the eulogy. The next few days felt like scenes from someone else's life. We moved on autopilot. Morning coffee, shared commutes, quiet dinners. Everything looked normal, but something invisible had shifted. Not tension, not hostility, just a distance disguised as peace. I caught myself watching her closely, searching her face for cracks, regret, fear, hesitation. But all I found was ease. She was calm. Too calm. like someone confident her secret was still safe. By Thursday, I decided to test that theory. Jason texted me around 6. Game night at your place again? My thumb hovered before I typed.
Sure.
Same time. Melissa was cooking when I walked in. Garlic, butter, something rich filled
The air.
For a second, I let it take me back to simpler nights when love was easy, when her voice meant comfort, not
Doubt.
Jason's coming by Saturday, I said. She froze just barely. A pause so subtle most wouldn't notice. But I did. Her hand hovered over the pan. Then she nodded. That'll be nice. It's been a while. Yeah, I said quietly. It has. I barely slept that night. The more I thought about that patio conversation, the more the missing pieces clicked into place. Late meetings, a new perfume, her constant smiles at the
Phone.
I'd ignored them because I'd wanted to believe she was still mine. By Saturday, rain had painted the world
Gray.
Jason arrived right on time. Whiskey in hand, grinned too casual to be
Real.
Man, you look like hell, he laughed, clapping my shoulder. Rough week, I said. We sat in the living room, the three of us, pretending nothing had changed. They talked easily, shared glances that burned holes through my patience. I kept sipping, waiting. When she leaned over to refill his glass, their fingers brushed. Barely a second, but enough. Not accidental. So, Jason, I said evenly, setting down my drink. How long have you been seeing my wife? Silence crashed through the room. Melissa's hand froze midair. Jason blinked, grin fading. What are you talking about? I leaned back. Monday night. After the
Party.
I heard you both on the patio. Her face went pale. You were listening. I live here, I said quietly. Didn't mean to, but truth has a way of finding its own voice. Jason stood, stammering something about a misunderstanding. I didn't look at him. My eyes were on her. Just tell me one thing, I said. How long? Tears welled up. For a moment I almost pitied her, the guilt softening her face, the shame that didn't fit her. A few months, she whispered. It just happened. I nodded slowly.
Right.
Things just happen. Jason muttered apologies as he slipped out the door. I didn't stop him. When it shut behind him, the silence that followed was unbearable. Melissa reached for me, voice shaking. I made a mistake. I don't want to lose you. I stared down at her. You already did. You just didn't notice. She broke then. Deep, aching sobs that once would have shattered me, but now they sounded hollow, like echoes in an empty house. I packed that night. Not everything, just enough to leave. She followed me to the door, begging, promising it meant nothing. But betrayal doesn't need meaning to destroy you. It only needs a chance. When I stepped outside, the rain had
Stopped.
The street glistened, quiet, washed clean. The air smelled like endings. I didn't look back. I drove without music, just the hum of the tires over wet asphalt. Somewhere between the city lights and the empty road ahead, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is for people still hoping to fix what's broken. I was past that. What I felt was freedom, raw, quiet, undeniable. The kind that comes when you stop holding on to something already
Gone.
By the time I reached the motel, the clock read 2:17 a.m. I sat in the parking lot for a long while, watching the neon sign blur through the rain-streaked windshield. It didn't feel like losing a wife. It felt like waking from a dream I'd been too afraid to end. And maybe that's what healing really is, not forgiveness or revenge, just finally realizing you were worth the truth all along.